we all have to agree that the behavior in the Kavanaugh hearing was inappropriate. I hope we never get back to it.
I want to compliment the Democrats on this committee for using grace and dignity, unlike it was during the Kavanaugh hearings.
Republicans today trying to make this Supreme Court hearing about them and their alleged victimhood, trying to attack Democrats in previous confirmation hearings as they continue to use their questioning of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson as political posturing and theater in an election year. At the crux of it, invoking Brett Kavanaugh, the victim to beat all victims, as Paul Waldman writes in the Washington Post. More from his piece, quote, so far, their clearest focus has been on their own victimization. You may be under the hot lights and being cross-examined, they are telling Jackson, but we are the real victims here. The average voter may not recognize all the names in the GOP's parade of decades-old judicial martyrs, but the activist base knows them, if only as victims of some long-ago Democratic treachery. Let's bring in our all-star panel. Michelle Goodwin, professor of law at the University of California, Irvine. Also with us, Erin Carmone, senior correspondent for New York Magazine and co-author of the book, The Notorious RBG, The Life and Times of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Jason Johnson is back with us. All right, Michelle, I want to play some of Senators Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley today pressing Judge Jackson again on her work in child pornography cases. Take a listen.
I've taken every case seriously. These are very horrible
I'm asking you specifically about the Hess case.
I've taken every case seriously.
So you're not going to answer that?
These are very horrible crimes, as was that one.
You gave him 3 months. My question is, do you regret it or not?
Senator, what I regret is that in a hearing about my qualifications to be a justice on the Supreme Court, we've spent a lot of time focusing on this small subset of my sentences.
Professor Goodwin, you gave us a preview of your thoughts when you tweeted 30 years ago, Anita Hill brought forward her experiences before the Senate Judiciary Committee. It was a shameful display by members of our Senate today. Flashbacks. Your reaction to the performance we saw yesterday and today?
Well, it's chilling, and it belies the august body that the Senate is and the Senate Judiciary Committee is supposed to be. We've seen the attacks against Judge Jackson. She has not been alleged to have sexually assaulted anyone, as we saw in the case of Justice now Brett Kavanaugh. She is not alleged to have sexually harassed employees under her supervision, which was the case involving the allegations against now Justice Thomas. And so there are flashbacks to the experience that Anita Hill had when she came before the United States Senate, this Judiciary Committee comprised of some of the same people, and was treated in such a shameful and frankly embarrassing way for this body. And the attacks that she has experienced as she has spoken quite openly, honestly, with poise, grace, and dignity about more than 500 cases, and they keep circling to this very narrow set of cases, which is really a bit of cherry picking. And one last thing that I'd like to say, this line of questioning about do you regret your sentencing is really also quite harmful, I think, for this body to do that line of questioning, because we need judges to be able to judge, and judges cannot always predict what the outcome of these cases are. They base their decisions, especially on the trial court, and based on the facts that are in front of them, weighing all manner of factors, and it is hard to predict what happens next. There are many other factors outside of the court and outside of the judge's jurisdiction that determine what happens in a person's life who was a criminal defendant.
Erin, I want you to talk about Judge Jackson's responses today to some of these criticisms of her judicial decisions. You say she didn't take the bait. Tell me more.
Well, it seems clear that not only are Republicans wanting to relitigate the Kavanaugh hearings, they also somehow want to elicit a response from Judge Jackson that is in some way comparable to the way that Brett Kavanaugh screamed, cried, accused the Clintons of orchestrating this whole thing, said that the people would reap the whirlwind. Really undignified display that still resulted in him getting confirmed. Ketanji Brown Jackson, as Michelle pointed out, hasn't been accused of anything. There are no witnesses here against her the way there were for him. But she has been accused of being soft on child predators, despite a record that shows her to be well within the mainstream, considering all different factors in incredibly difficult and disturbing cases. And so I think what's interesting is that they seem to be trying to bait her so that they can use a clip in which they peg her as an angry black woman, which they can then feed to their base. And barring that, they can feed to their base viral clips in which they are screaming at this black woman, particularly Ted Cruz today, a really disgraceful display from Ted Cruz on a day where lots of people distinguish themselves theatrically, sort of taking things out of context, being unfair, being reductive, being not factual. But what she has continued to do is react with dignity and poise, stick to the facts, be really narrow and patient in all of her answers. And of course, my understanding is that as a black woman, she has had to do so many, many times. But this is an unprecedented national stage. And so to watch her for 12 hours yesterday and many more hours today and many more hours to come, I think has been a real masterclass in dignity.
Right, and in patience, as you said. Jason, Republican Judiciary Committee member Senator Mike Lee said this on Fox today: "We deserve to get some answers regarding her pattern of low sentences in this hearing. This doesn't mean we are attacking her character. I don't think you can point to a single time when Republicans have used the politics of personal destruction on a Supreme Court nomination." Your reaction?
I mean, it's a lie. It's all a lie. They're all lying. And look, this is probably the first time in my life that I have ever quoted or paraphrased Clarence Thomas. But 30 years ago, we all remember, Clarence Thomas said, "This is a high-tech lynching of an uppity black man." This is not a lynching, but it is certainly a flogging. And it's a flogging because the Republicans know they can't stop Judge Brown Jackson from getting in. She's going to end up on the Supreme Court. So the only thing they can do now is publicly flog this intelligent, capable, qualified black woman to the best of their ability with every single crazy QAnon conspiracy they can come up with. They're going to use it to express their bigotry about trans rights. They're going to use her to express their bigotry and their QAnon conspiracies and their anti-Muslim sentiments. That's all this is. And the reason this is so problematic is because it's not going to change anybody's votes. She's going to get on regardless.
Michelle Goodwin, Erin Carmon, Jason Johnson, thank you all so much for spending some time with us.